Yeah, and I don't imagine we'll do any level streaming. I mean, I think we might have like an endless mode or something like that, where you can kind of like run forever and we can throw random obstacles and all that sort of stuff at you. But that's not really level streaming, that's just creating new stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much the thing, Kento, is it's the open world games that really deal with the asset streaming. You know, it's like, it used to be a really big thing with RPG games like Dungeon Siege, etc. They're like, you can walk outside of this dungeon without having a load screen, you know, which was its kind of secret sauce versus Diablo, where, you know, it's like entering Den of Evil, loading, you know, gotta watch those doors open. So I don't think we're gonna have to do anything too nuts like that. Alright, so we're gonna have the source, and we're gonna have the destination. And have we, when we do this, we cache everything, and we should be able to do it. Okay, cool. So we've got our vertex data and everything. So flow field, calculate path. I mean, we're gonna need another path here, right? We're gonna need like, we're gonna want to convert a like a grid square, you know, like get grid square for world position, and we're gonna pass in like a, you know, const vector address position, and then like int32 reference out x, int32 out y, something like this. Because we'll need that sort of information. We'll want to know, like, get grid square for world position. We're probably also going to need like get world position for grid square. So let's get those functions kind of stubbed out here real quick. So call this to convert a grid square to a world position, and this will be, call this to convert a world position into a grid square. Alright, so we'll do that. The game engine, Unreal does support streaming assets and stuff like that. I think there's a couple ways to implement it. I'm not very familiar with it, but there's like, you can have multiple levels that you're actually running in and stuff like that. So you could divide the entire thing into different levels, into one large world. And then load, you can like stream load a level and stuff like that. So as you're moving through, you can load the next level. And you can break up the map into different levels. And the level files are individual. So, you know, the source control stuff for that would allow multiple people to edit the level that they're working in. And I think there's global level construct stuff, but I'd have to defer to somebody who knows a lot more than I do about that stuff. Okay, source, destination, and we're gonna have this calculated flow path. Why aren't we just returning the path then? I mean, because we can? Alright. Input output path, alright. Yeah, we've got asset preloading in that, like, I've got an asset manager that exists on like the game instance, which can preload all the assets that we need. So when like we're spawning something in programmatically, you know, it's not just like loading up the textures for that thing at that point. Like I've got like an asset, you know, preload asset thing where it'll preload all those assets, so it just has to make an instance of it at runtime and everything. So there's a lot of stuff like that in there. Anyway, my food is actually edible now, so I think I'm going to eat it. Alright, so we'll have to make all these things. Alright, so get grid square for world position. We had this whole component to world sort of thing going on for the top left and top right and everything. So we're going to need a void you calculated flow field, calculate geometry. So we'll cache a bunch of this stuff. And we're going to want to cache that component. Alright. Let's get these top left, all these vectors that we need here. So we'll have our X step and our Y step. Just like that. Resolution X and resolution Y is going to be our width and height. So that's going to be M map. Maybe we should actually put this on our map and have something for the map to actually hold on to. Alright, so it'll be our calculating our stuff. Let's just get rid of the MIL and just use the reset function. Alright, calculate geometry needs to be an actual thing. I guess when we call setup for map, we need to actually pass in the component or something like that. So we're going to need to calculate geometry, but I think it can be a private function. Alright, so this will be called to calculate geometry. I should probably go above and set up for map, flow field, calculate geometry. That means it can't be a private function. Discover flow objects, calculate paths. Alright, so flow object. So we'll have this calculate paths, and we basically want to calculate a specific path for a thing. We're going to want like our int32 sx, sy, ex, ey for start and end. So we're going to want to get grid square for world position. The position of the source. Sx, sy, and we'll have this destination, sx and xy, and then we're going to search. So let's just close this all down, and we'll be able to work on some of this. So that'll be ex and ey there. Alright, so we need to implement these. So get grid square for world position. We should basically get alright, so we want to calculate the grid x and grid y. So what we should do is do the percent. So it's going to be so the x is going to be like the going to be the top left dot. I guess this is going to be y and all that. So y is going to be the x, and x is going to be the y. So it's top right dot y minus top left dot y. and it's going to be the position.y minus the top left.y. Multiplied by mmap. What? And we'll do fmath floor. So this is going to be the position.x minus the, it's going to be the top left and the top left and right don't matter, but the bottom left and bottom right do matter for these. So how does this go for bottom left and bottom right? So the bottom right is, so top left, top right, so this is negative, negative, positive, negative, so it's are they swapped? Yeah, it's all swapped, isn't it? Yeah, because we like transformed this thing all opposite crap like that, didn't we? Good job, me. Top right minus top left, and we're using the z value, is what it looks like. Well, the z value doesn't matter really because we're using the top left and top right and everything. So it's bottom left and top left divided by that. So the bottom left dot x is greater than that, so it's going to be the top left dot x here, and we'll be good to go. Open up a ticket. Hello, hello, can't think of a user. Sorry, I was lost looking at things. Yeah, it's probably because of no reason. I should probably just change the emote name. But yeah, no emote yet. I don't know why. Alright, so we're going to have finding path from %d, %d to %d, %d. Let's do from %s to %s. So we'll just be able to do star source dot name. Yeah. And then we want SXSY star destination dot mname exey. So that'll help us log out some of this stuff. So we'll make sure that we actually have the right coordinates for this thing. So get world position for grid is going to be this other one. It's physics utils. We're just copying this from the other place because we can, so we will. So this X step and Y step are going to be right here. Alright, so let's make sure we got all the correct stuff to start with, and then we can write out our whole A-star algorithm. Alright. Well, we're still working here. Hopefully I can get all the algorithms and information good to go. We'll see how far we can get on this whole texture thing. So I just had the wrong things copied over here. Just like that. Will never be resetting those? Yes, we are resetting. I don't know, I don't think Twitch particularly would care too much about my single dangling emote. But who knows, their whole customer service thing is focused towards streamers getting what they want. Like I was in meetings and all that stuff for that stuff, and it's very much so, you know, Amazon's corporate language is always like customer first. Twitch's stuff is all streamers first because, like, you know, content is king. You need people making content for your platform, otherwise you're screwed, right? Like, Twitch would go nowhere without streamers. I mean, they go nowhere without customers, but they'd literally not have anything for their customers to watch if they didn't have any streamers. So, you know, that's why I think they put streamers in front of customers for a lot of it. Because, well, you can't please everybody. Let's please the people who are making the content first. But you are a streamer. Yeah, I know. Anyway, I need some more water and I need some more caffeine, so I'll be right back. Alright, cool. Well, let's get back. Let's verify that we have the correct information for our stuff. Alright, finding path from waterfall, which is at 198,979, to waterfall out, which is at 531,1015. Alright, so in terms of our x coordinates, if our x is our bottom left, that should be 0 and then a very high number, and then this should be about halfway through and then a very high number. So the math looks like it checks out. So what we're going to need to do is use our height map data stuff to start doing our actual pathfinding. So let's see what we've got for... We want to hook up these buttons, is what we need to hook up. No, Lucas, this is all pre-recorded. I have written a program that will dynamically create an avatar of myself that talks and responds to all the stuff in chat. It can also parse the inputs. It's all, yeah. I can't prove I'm real. Can you prove you're real? Alright, so we're going to want a function inside of our blueprint that we can call. That will then call this function in here, which will further this thing. We're going to want a few setup methods. So, like we've got this construct height map, which is call an editor. So let's make a new function here. It's going to be like tick height map, tick flow field, flow file, yeah. And let's put this in category debug. So I need to tick the flow field. What else are we going to want to do? Calculate paths. We're going to want to grab like the default output. You'd be like set texture to paths. Then we're going to want like set texture to particles, and then we'll want set texture to flow field. Alright, so I need to be looking at stuff here. Alright, so we want to call tick flow field. We're going to grab our flow field calculated flow field. We're going to call tick on it. We're going to call tick, and we are going to then call set texture to particles or something. No, we're just going to call tick. Yeah, I guess just set texture to particles. Alright, so call an editor. Let's make sure we get all those set properly. Alright, set texture to paths is going to, well, we want calculate paths. So we're going to call calculate paths. So we call calculate paths. We will then call set texture to paths. So we got tick, calculate paths. Alright, set texture to paths is going to get this. Struct static height map is going to we are going to call this save asset and set full field texture to it. And we're going to get the, this is the paths, set texture to paths, so it's going to be fill color with paths. And that should set our texture properly. Basically just make a new texture with the path data. Set texture to particles, do the same thing, except we're going to grab the particles. This will be fill color with particles. And set texture to flow field. Again, the same thing, except we are going to fill color with flow. So we click on this thing, and we've got these debug things here, so we can call it calculate paths, which immediately crashes. Because the texture data was null. Well, shit. Alright, so let's see. We've got our setup for map, flow colors, all these colors properly done there. We have these outs, so like fill color with paths. So let's just see what these are. I mean, they should be... Oh, I never calculated it, did I? So that would... Because it's not set up properly yet. So what I should probably do is inside of this texture stuff, have a safeguard in here. Yeah, so if texture data.num does not equal width times height, then we're going to return null pointer, and we're going to have a warn log in here. Texture %s has no valid passed in data. So start name, I guess data size passed in does not match width and height. Star name, and then we're gonna have %d, %d. We're gonna have texture data.num, then width and height. I'm gonna say size %d and width %d by %d. So that'll be width and height. All right. So that should help us out, so we don't just like immediately crash on stuff. Can you run the full game inside of your editor? Yeah, you can totally run the game inside of the editor. That's kind of the point of these modern editors, is that you can just pull up any level you want and just play it by hitting the play button, stuff like that. So you basically make a starting level that would like load up the main menu and splash screen and all that stuff, and then you just go between other levels, and the editor just kind of boots up a level directly. Because whenever I hit the play button, it loads all the assets and everything else to actually boot the game up. Alright, let's reduce this to like a 512 by 512 thing and calculate the static flow field for that. So calculate paths. And the flow field is all zeroed out, which is as it should be. So set texture to paths. We'll snag the paths and set the texture and all that. And of course, there's nothing in there yet. Size of 0, 512, 512. Are we creating a new, or running the construction script every single time here or something? It's like we've got the construction script here. Which we call in this thing, and then set texture to paths, then works. Okay, so it does work, it's just if you move this thing or do anything to it, it's gonna freak the hell out. Alright, that's fine. As long as it doesn't crash on us, we'll be alright. Alright, well what that means is we can now actually write our pathfinding stuff. Alright, so how does A* work again? What, open a node and then, you know, close everything around it and iterate and all that crap? And then you can do all sorts of other stuff. I don't know, it's been a while since I wrote. I think the last time I wrote an A* thing was literally like back in like some interview question. So let me see. So do we have a new T-set or something like that? So it's going to be open node. I'm just going to try to do this from memory. And then, yeah, so it's going to be open first node. And then it's going to be while there are open nodes, close the current node. If the current node is the destination, we're finished. And where do we save the... Like the distance is all saved in the nodes that are previous. So like when you closed a node, it's the first time you closed it. So it's, if your heuristic is correct, then it will always be the right node. So and then open the surrounding nodes. And so to open a node, we have to to open a node, what is like calculate the cost of the node. And we want to know if the node is already closed. If the node is already closed, then like we don't care, right? Something like that. So we're gonna need like, you know, some sort of T set of int32s, which go to, T map of int32s to T maps to T sets of int32s. And I guess we should have like closed nodes as like a T-map there, and we could have a class here that's like calc node or whatever. We could just do a struct. It's like int32x, int32y, float weight or some crap like that. And do we have like some sort of priority queue? So there's some heap functions in T-array which you can use, like there's not actually a priority queue. And there's a heap push. So what we're supposed to do is make like a struct calc node priority predicate, and then we're supposed to do this like, we're supposed to make a Boolean operator for this thing. Boolean, you know, parentheses operator for what? It takes calc node left and calc node right, and we just return left dot. We just do the left and right like that. Alright, so we have heap push and heap pop. So we should be able to have like a T-array of calc nodes, and this will be open nodes. And we should basically, it's going to be like while open nodes.num is greater than 0. We're going to do this calc node cur equals open nodes dot what? It's heap pop. And yeah, heap pop returns the out element, so it'll be cur So we just have open node dot heap pop. We pass in cur and we want to pass in the predicate. So I guess it's like that, and then I guess that's how it goes. I don't like, it's kind of simple, I mean, kind of strange that they don't have a priority queue implementation in here. There must be some reason for it. We're supposed to call heap push and then like our node and then our predicate for everything to open it. Alright, so if cur.mx equals ex and cur.my equals ey, then we're finished. I think it's t-array of calc nodes. Our path. Then I guess it's just going to be the path is path. So calculated flow path is got flow path nodes right over here already. So I don't have to use this calc node. Garbage. I can use this flow path node. So it's going to be path.mPath equals path and return true, and then this will return false. So let's put an info log, enable define path, and this is going to info log found path.